Next, I've got a really fun book that really anybody could enjoy. It's called Paint Your House with Powdered Milk, and it's a follow-up to a great book that came out this last year called Polish Your Furniture with Pantyhose. And the author is Joey Green, and Joey is joining us by phone from California. Joey, thanks for being with us this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me, Steve.
Of course, I know Joey's name because he's written a number of books on TV shows. He did a book on Gilligan's Island, on Partridge Family, on Get Smart, and I think there's a new one on Bob Newhart. And Joey, this category of book, this one, Paint Your House with Powdered Milk, is quite a bit different from what you had done before. How did you get into this whole thing?
Well, I was working in advertising, writing Burger King commercials, and one day I was asked into a meeting on Nestea iced tea mix, and asked to come up with alternative uses for Nestea. And the only thing I could think of was, make iced tea with it. Well, it turns out that you can actually soothe sunburn pain with Nestea. What you do is, if you've got a bad sunburn, you come home from the beach, you've been out sailing, you take the whole jar of Nestea, empty it into your bathtub, fill the bath with warm water, and then soak in it. It's the tannic acid in the tea that relieves sunburn pain. It's kind of an interesting way to take the Nestea plunge.
Did they ever advertise it that way?
They ended up never advertising any of the uses we came up with, strangely enough. And but I thought, this stuff is just bizarre, and it belongs in a book. And that's how I got started.
How many years was it from when you got the idea to when it actually first was published?
About 10 years.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so it was one of those things that just, just over the years I just kept thinking about, let it germinate.
And did you, clip articles and read things every once in a while and file it away and say, gee, that would be interesting?
Exactly. And, you keep coming across things. And then what I did is that, people write into the companies with their offbeat uses for name brand products, and the companies just never get around to advertising this information. So I wrote to the companies and got the information from them.
Oh, you did? Because the book, one thing about the book, it's interesting to hear how you use products in an unusual way, but also the book is filled with the history of the companies involved. For example, we were talking here about Spam, and you've got some really fun ways to use Spam, but it also talks about how Spam was created, the history of it, and it's filled with very interesting information. So in addition to being kind of odd, it's also historical and fun at the same time.
And also the uses range from the practical to the bizarre, depending upon how far you want to go. And like you were saying, these are all things we've taken for granted over the years, how these products got their name and who invented them, and just fun facts about them.
Joey, let's focus on the latest book, Paint Your House with Powdered Milk. And why don't you give us an example, give the listeners an example of a product and the unusual uses that product may have.
Well, I guess people would probably want to know about the first one mentioned with the title of the book, which is Paint Your House with Powdered Milk, which sounds insane. Yeah. But you really can paint your house with powdered milk. In fact, American colonists used to paint their homes with milk. What they would do is boil berries in the milk, which would color it and make the milk thick, and then they'd use that to paint their homes. And which is why all those houses in New England are always kind of a whitewashed, kind of off-white color. And the great thing about carnation non-fat dry milk is that you can mix it really thick with just a little water, add some pigment for color, and then paint your house with powdered milk. When it dries, it's incredibly durable. It will not wash off. It's just like paint. In fact, it's one of the easiest paints in the world to make and one of the oldest paints in the world to make.
I just find that hard to believe. Why won't it wash off? I would think it would wash off right away.
Well, it's casein, the casein in the milk, which dries. If you just experiment around the house and just, as a project on a weekend with the kids, you'll see it really does work like paint. And the great thing is if you paint your house with it, cats will love it. And when you're done, you can have milk and cookies. Try doing that with regular paint.
That's good. Well, what else can you use Carnation Instant non-fat dry milk for?
Well, once you're done painting your house with powdered milk and you want to relax a little bit, the thing to do is take a handful of Carnation non-fat dry milk, put it in your bathtub, fill the bath with warm water, and soak in it. It's a soothing, relaxing milk bath, which is a lot cheaper than those expensive milk baths at the specialty shops.
You've got one in here for it that says you can thaw frozen fish in it.
Yeah, it's great for thawing frozen fish. What you do is you add a little powdered milk, and then you soak the fish in it. And what that does is it eliminates that frozen taste from the fish.
And here's one under the non-fat dry milk. Make a slight crack in a dish or plate disappear. I didn't think you could make a crack disappear once it was in a plate.
Well, if it's a slight crack, then the recipe's in the book on how you use the Carnation non-fat dry milk to make that crack disappear.
You mix 1 1/3 cups dry milk with 3 3/4 cups water. Place the dish or plate in a pan, cover it with milk solution, then bring the whole thing to a boil and simmer it for 45 minutes on low heat, and in most cases the crack's going to disappear. And I just am sitting here trying to figure out how that's even possible.
It's just amazing that what these products do. I mean, there's so many alternative uses for the products. I mean, this whole book it's really just a testimony to American ingenuity. It's what people come up with over the years, and you think everyone would share this knowledge. For instance, we've all heard the rumors over the years, excuse me, that you can shampoo your hair with beer or condition your hair with beer.
That's right.
And, is this true? Is it not true? What's the deal? It really is true. You can shampoo your hair with beer. In fact, Miller Beer is the champagne of bottled shampoo. And, let's say you're having a bad hair day. You've got a big job interview. You don't have any mousse. You don't have any styling gel. You don't have any hairspray. What do you do in a pinch? Well, it's Miller time. Just fill a spray bottle with Miller Beer and spray it in your hair. It works just like hairspray, and it'll set your hair. And if that job interview's at the brewery, you're sure to get the job.
Now, what's funny is you've got a number of things between the two books about hair. For instance, you say Wesson corn oil can be used as a conditioner then.
Absolutely. It's a great conditioner for your hair.
And I'm trying to figure out why. I mean, who in the world would condition their hair with oil?
Who was the first person to try it, right?
Yeah.
Who knows? But, these things really, really do work. And, again, these are things that, it's all products that we've got around the house. Everybody's got this stuff in the kitchen or, under the sink or in the medicine cabinet or in the garage.
Yeah.
And it's all things that anybody can try. You don't have to be a millionaire to try these things. And it's when you're in a pinch, you can, use different things. For instance, Tabasco sauce. It's got a number of uses. If you have cats scratching your wood furniture, what you do is you just rub a little Tabasco sauce on the wood furniture, make sure it's dark wood furniture, and the smell of the Tabasco sauce keeps the cats from scratching it. I had a problem with local dogs coming to my front yard and leaving presents for me. And what I did is I just took some Tabasco sauce and sprinkled it along the property line between the grass and the sidewalk, and the dogs won't cross that line.
I'd sprinkle it on the dog. They wouldn't cross that line at all, that's for sure. Joey, you ready to go to the phone lines?
Sure.
Okay, Robert from Des Moines, what's your unusual use for a product?
Yes. You know the SOS pads?
Sure. He has a whole chapter on SOS pads in his book.
All right. You know all that crud that's underneath the rim of the stool where the water comes out?
Yeah.
All right. I didn't have no Drano or Centiflush, so I used one of those SOS pads. And believe it or not, it comes out about 98% clean.
Now, is this on the floor or on the stool?
It's on the stool, underneath the rim where all the holes are.
Yeah, doesn't it scrape the paint, though?
No. This is porcelain.
Yeah.
Don't use it on wood, no, you can, but this is porcelain. This is where all the water comes out when you place it.
Joey, you have a whole chapter on SOS pads,
all
right?
right. How about Centiflush to clean out your clogged drains in the sink? Also, I use SOS pads to clean out my microwave oven.
Oh my gosh, I would think that would scratch it. Joey, what are some of the things that you have for SOS pads?
SOS pads are great. You can use them to fill cracks in walls, use pieces of SOS pads, and then you plaster over it.
Hold it, stop. Fill cracks in walls with an SOS pad.
Yeah.
You just,
as a starter, and then
you stick it in.
Then you plaster over it.
Oh my gosh, I never thought of that.
And you can make a pincushion with a SOS pad. Just sew it around a piece of fabric, and then you can keep your needles and pins in it.
Yeah.
You can clean golf clubs with an SOS pad, clean sneakers with an SOS pad. You can even get crayon-off wallpaper with an SOS pad. And if you've got a problem with mice in the house, little mouse holes, and you can just plug them temporarily with SOS pads because the mice won't chew through that.
But how, if you clean shoes with it, clean sneakers with it, how does that not scrape it? I mean, usually when you use SOS, it's got that little scratch marks there.
Yeah, well, these are, when you've got sneakers and they get really dirty, you just use an SOS
Just lightly.
pad.
You just got to be light with it,
Exactly.
though. Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. Thanks, Robert, for calling in. We're going to award one of Joey's books to the best idea. And, Bruce, you've got something for WD-40. And, again, Joey has a whole chapter on WD-40. Bruce, go ahead with your idea.
Well, it works good on arthritis.
What do you mean?
Just spray it on your knees. If you got arthritic knees, it works.
You spray WD-40 on yourself?
Yeah.
Joey, what do you think about that?
Well, I've heard it, and I've heard it from a number of people when I do radio interviews like this. And all the companies granted permission to be in the book. And WD-40 didn't want me saying that you could use WD-40 to cure arthritis because they just don't want people.
Yeah.
Well, they don't want people spraying. It's a petroleum product, and they don't want people spraying it on themselves. But I've heard it from a number of people that it works, and you can't argue with that.
Bruce, isn't it a little greasy?
It rubs into the skin like suntan lotion.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
I've never tried it, so, you don't normally spray WD-40 on yourself, so.
Well, WD-40 is water displacement.
Yeah,
that's what it came from. And,
that's right.
And if you got, bad knees, I'm sure you got some water buildup. It works.
That's interesting. Well,
and
thanks.
other people swear by Star olive oil for
Olive oil, too.
rubbing olive oil into their skin.
Thanks, Bruce. Now, you stay tuned, because at the end of the show, we're going to pick one idea, and you'll win one of those books. Joey, about WD-40, one of the interesting things is you kind of explained how they came up with the history of this. It was invented in 1953. It was for the aerospace industry, and that's what I enjoyed about the book. That it goes beyond just ideas for products, but it actually gives information. How did you research this?
Well, again, I contacted all the companies and also locked myself in the library and looked up household hints and kitchen remedies, folklore, medicines.
Judy from Des Moines, what's your unusual use for a product?
Hi.
Hi.
My son is an electrician, and we had some light fixtures installed in our home before the paint was dry. Decided later to change those fixtures, one of them, and discovered that the fixture had left a huge rust ring in our paint. My son suggested, rather than repaint, and which would never match anyway, now that the paint was dry,
Right.
to go out and buy some foot spray with powder in it and just spray that all over it, and it would cover the rust completely. And we did, and it's been covered for over 6
What?
months.
And it matches the color of the paint?
Matches the color of the paint perfect.
Like Desinex, you mean?
Powdered foot spray.
Mm-hmm. Yep, got the powder right in it.
That's one of the stranger things I've heard. Give this woman a book.
Judy, you're getting a book, I guess.
Oh, great.
Joey says that's weird.
Well, it works.
But, another tip for you is before you're painting, thing to do is you take a Glad trash bag and you cover your light fixture with that so you don't get paint on it, and then you can paint around it. And another great trick is Vaseline when you're painting. What you do is just take a Q-tip and put the Vaseline along the edges of the doorknobs or light switches, and that way when you paint, after you're done and you've splattered a little bit, you just wipe the Vaseline
That
off.
is a great idea. I've never thought of
is a great
that.
idea.
That is a great idea, Joey.
And,
Super.
That's worth the price of the book right there.
All right.
Judy, now explain this to me. You got this powdered foot spray. Doesn't it come off?
No.
It
No, we
stays
have
there?
it's a textured ceiling, which would have been very difficult
Right.
to paint anyway. And
And you
since the
spray
paint
it up
was
there, and
dry,
it blends right in with the textured
blended
ceiling.
right in.
That is
Can't even tell
unbelievable.
it.
And the ceiling doesn't have athlete's foot. So
That's right.
Right. No germs.
And Joey, we're back to the phone lines. You do this all the time, don't you, where you do call-ins?
Sure.
And you also do media appearances. I know you were on a couple of big national shows, weren't you?
I've been on the Tonight Show, the Today Show. I got Jay Leno to shave with peanut butter.
Shaving with peanut butter.
Yeah, that was in my first book. That was in Polish Your Furniture with Pantyhose, and you can actually shave with peanut butter, Jif peanut butter. It was discovered by Barry Goldwater while on a camping trip.
Oh, my gosh.
And I just recommend using the smooth as opposed to the extra
I
crunchy. It
bet.
kind of clogs up the blade.
What did you do with Katie Couric?
I had her drop her diamond engagement ring into a glass of Efferdent, which polishes the diamonds. And she did it on the Today Show.
Do these people think you're kind of odd?
Well, all these things work. It all sounds strange. It all sounds a little wacky, but all these things work. For instance, let's say you've got a big date and you don't have any perfume. What do you do in a pinch? Well, you just reach for the vanilla extract and put a dab behind each ear.
I'm glad he didn't say WD-40 again.
Well, you could if you were really desperate, I guess. Going out with a mechanic.
That's right.
And the vanilla is like one of the most popular flavors in the world.
Yeah,
and
that's true.
In fact, in perfume shops, it's now become a popular flavor.
Some kind of a brand vanilla. That's right. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and you can save yourself a lot of money because
That's
it's
right.
just vanilla extract. In fact, vanilla is considered to be an aphrodisiac, so a dab behind each ear, and he'll be calling you cupcake in no time.
That's great. Joey Green is the guest. Paint Your House with Powdered Milk is the book. And Jeff from Cedar Rapids, you have an idea. What have you got for us?
Well, one thing I do is when I get cuts and scrapes and that, I use Vicks Vapo Rub on it, and I think it helps them heal faster. The times I haven't used it, I think it's taken longer to heal, and picked that up from an old fellow I worked with in the past, and he used it for years, and I think it worked.
Doesn't it sting?
Not really. Not that bad.
Huh, I've never heard of that one,
That's
Joey.
amazing. You can also use Vaseline, which is a great. It heals wounds.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Jeff, for calling.
Yeah, thanks.
Becca, you have an idea for us. What is it?
We have some rental property, and a lot of times your ovens that you get back are really, really filthy, including the broilers and the oven racks. And I found that if you take Perfex and throw it in a tub of hot water and throw those in there and let them set overnight, they just wipe right clean.
What is Perfex?
Perfex is a powder that you normally use it to wash walls with, You can use it for laundry and stuff.
So does it come in a box? It's powdered?
It's a green box and it's powder.
So you clean your oven racks with that?
Yeah,
That's
it
a great
works
idea.
great.
Because, boy, those are hard to get clean sometimes.
Yes, I had one oven that I wanted to throw out the stove and buy new. And a lady told me about this, and it was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Becca, for that idea.
You're welcome.
Yeah, ideas that he's got in these books. Coke is used to clean toilet bowls. Pour some Coca-Cola and it'll clean your toilet bowl. Toothpaste removes scratches on glass. Joey, I can't even hardly believe that. Just rubbing some toothpaste on will do away with some scratches?
Yeah, some minor scratches in drinking glasses. Just rub a little Colgate toothpaste on them.
That's unbelievable.
It is.
You use chalk to clean ring around the collar.
And you can also use cream of tartar to clean ring around the collar. And also, chalk will repel ants. If you have a problem with ants getting into your home, you just take some Crayola chalk, draw a line around your windows, doors, outside the house. Ants will not cross a chalk line, and so they stay away.
Boy, that's weird.
It's wild. If you've got some spare time on your hands, you go outside in the back in the patio, draw little mazes for the ants. It'll keep them entertained for hours.
Ron, what's your idea for Joey Green?
Good morning, fellas.
Hi.
Say, I come across another use for WD-40 out of desperation this summer.
What's that?
Makes pretty passable mosquito repellent for about 3 hours.
Really?
Yes, it does.
So you sprayed it on your arms and legs, or
well,
what?
I hesitated to start with, but then I read the directions and it said safe around food utensils, and I figured, well, if you're not worried about getting it on your feet, it sure ain't going to hurt on your skin.
Well, that's interesting. Have you heard that before, Joey?
I hadn't heard that. That sounds incredible. I have heard that Bounce, the no fabric, the anti-static bounce sheets, if you put in your dryer, if you take one of those, put it in your belt loop, it repels mosquitoes.
Well, this worked for about 3 hours real good, and then it started fading off. And
that's
you
great.
Probably already got all the other ignition system, wet ignition systems and cars, starting fluid tricks with that.
all that start. Well, thanks a lot, Ron, for calling.
You bet.
Roger, you're on the line. What's your idea, Roger?
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Just great, thanks.
Well, I've got a fishing story I'd like to tell you.
Go ahead.
I've got 3 things. I'm kind of new at fishing down in Adams County, and I don't know if I'm just being, boonwoggled or what here, but because I haven't caught the big one yet. But the main thing I wanted to mention was putting Preparation H on fishing lures.
There's a few jokes we could do there, but...
Well, I tell you what, I'm starting to... I kind of believe it because I think it probably attracts fish with probably the oil residue that comes into the water is what my theory is to make it seem like I'm sane.
Well,
Joey, have you looked at Preparation H at all?
Yeah, I haven't heard that for Preparation H, but I have heard a couple things for fishing that definitely do work. One is Vaseline. What you do is you take a small piece of sponge, coat it with Vaseline, put that on your hook. It simulates fish eggs, and the fish go for that.
Okay.
Also, you spray WD-40, which would be semi-similar to Preparation H, on your fishing bait, on your lure, and it keeps away the scent of human hands. And so the fish go for that. And also a great one in the new book is Wrigley Spearmint Gum. What you do is you just chew up a piece of Wrigley's gum, put it on your fishing hook, drop it in the water, and you'll be catching crabs. There's other ways to catch crabs, but I don't think we want to get into that.
Okay, I'll try ivory soap, too.
For fishing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's got...
ivory soap.
Yeah, I think he's got a whole chapter on ivory soap in one of the books. So
Great.
Thanks a lot for calling. Yeah, do you have that in your ivory soap chapter about fishing, too?
Not for fish. I don't think that would work because, soap dissolves in water. Keep the fish clean.
Probably have to be a pretty big chunk of it, I suppose.
Yeah, ivory soap will repel deer, though. If you have a problem with deer eating your crops or getting into your garden, what you do is just hang up some bars of ivory soap, and it keeps deer away.
That's a great idea. And Marilyn, you have a brand name product.
Yes.
What's that?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I use Static Guard, and I, in desperation, trying to get the residue from tapes and ledger, labels and things like that off of a binder.
Oh.
I sprayed that on, and it cleaned it off. I mean, it took all the black marks off, and anymore, I keep a can in my bathroom and one in the kitchen and here at work, and if I need to spray, I just spray it on there, and it cleans the plastic up beautifully.
That's a great idea. Or even if kids stick some stickers on something and you can't get the residue off.
Right, it works better than the things that they tell you to use.
You use Static Guard to get that off. That's fascinating.
You can also use Pam No-Stick Cooking Spray. That'll get stickers and decals off glass and notebooks.
But it doesn't clean up my plastic.
That's a great idea. Thanks, Marilyn, for sharing that. Tim, you've got something for Vicks Vapor Rub. Are you there, Tim?
Yep, I'm here.
Go ahead.
I use Vicks Vapor Rub to repel mosquitoes. I usually use like the tube bottle. It's like a cream.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have that strong of an odor, and it keeps the mosquitoes away really well.
Do people say anything to you about your smell then?
No, my wife uses it too, and it works pretty darn good.
Because usually you can smell Vicks from pretty far away.
Well, they got like a cream out now, and
Oh,
it
they
works
do?
real well.
And there isn't as much
it doesn't have
smell.
as strong as the odor as the
Okay,
gel.
that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that. What are you doing, Tim?
Oh, I'm at work. The guys are hollering. We listen to WHO and all day long, so they get a hoop and a holler whenever we get a call into this show. Or
spread the Vicks around, okay? Maybe that'll keep them away from you.
Okay, thanks.
It repels coworkers too. Thanks, Tim, for calling in. Have you heard that one before, Joey?
No, never heard one. That was a great one.
Some of these things are so odd. You thought you had some odd ones in the book.
Well, one of my favorites is with Maxwell House Coffee.
Yeah, tell us about that.
When you've got say you've got a nice clean white shirt, you spill coffee on it. Once that dries, it's a really tough stain to get out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you don't have to throw out the shirt. You can dye the entire shirt to match in just 2 minutes with 2 pots of Maxwell House Coffee. And the great thing, the shirt comes out kind of a light coffee brown, like the color of coffee ice cream. The great thing is that coffee brown is a hip color this fall, so you'll be in style. And then you can spill all the coffee you want on yourself. Who's going to notice? And you can also use Maxwell House Coffee to fertilize your lawn if you've got a lot of money and want to, spend it all on dumping coffee.
I think I've heard that on Jerry Baker's show.
And what the great thing is
that,
you can use the coffee to fertilize. The best thing is using it for your house plants or your plants in your garden. What you do is you just pour the coffee in. You do coffee grounds after you've made the coffee, and it's an excellent nutrient. And also, if you're going camping, it's always difficult to keep the toilet paper clean and dry. What uses an empty Maxwell House coffee can, keep the toilet paper inside there, and then it's good for the last drop.
You got interesting things. The one, I think this was in the first book, was charcoal briquettes. You had some really unusual uses for charcoal, and let me just try to look it up here real quick. Because
I can tell you off the top of my head.
Okay, go ahead.
One of them is a great one, is that you just take a charcoal briquette and put it in your toolbox. It keeps the tools from rusting. What it does is it absorbs the excess moisture in your toolbox.
And it deodorizes your refrigerator. That was the one that I found odd.
Yeah, you can take a couple of briquettes and put them in, just in a bowl or in an empty coffee can. Put them in the back of your refrigerator, and that deodorizes the refrigerator. Also in a closet, to deodorize a closet, just a coffee can full of charcoal briquettes. You can also use Crayola chalk in your toolbox. That'll keep the moisture out.
That's great.
Or in a jewelry box to keep your jewelry from tarnishing.
And we asked the question, what's the Iowa product that was featured in Joey's latest book? And Joey, what's the answer?
Well, let me give you a couple more clues for listeners.
Okay, that's a good idea.
This product, which comes from Sioux City, Iowa, you can use it to condition your hair and prevent split ends and frizzies. You can use it to give yourself a facial. You can use it to dress wounds and burns. You can use it to soothe a sore throat. And you can cure a hangover with it. You can make a bath toy with it. You can relieve a cough due to a cold. You can substitute it for sugar when cooking.
Yep, we got it there.
And you can make children sleepy at bedtime and help prevent small children from wetting the bed with it.
And that, of course, is honey. Sioux bee honey. And what I found fascinating is you kind of went into the history of it. And I didn't realize that Sioux bee is the only national honey.
It's incredible.
I thought there would be a number of different national honey brands out there, but it's not.
It's the only one that's nationwide.
I think you also said, didn't you say in here that North Dakota produces the most honey in the United States or something like that?
The different honey-producing states, I'm trying to...
I remember it was in there somewhere, but it was really unusual because I thought Iowa would have produced a lot, but you said North Dakota was one of the big producers of honey.
Yeah, North Dakota is number one, followed by South Dakota, California, and Florida.
That's unbelievable. But the biggest brand is here in Iowa. Linda, you've been on the line for quite a while. What's your idea, Linda?
Well, the honey would draw it, but mine will get rid of it. Since we moved here, we've had quite a problem with flies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
A number of people we've talked to in this area have too. During the year, all year in your house, maybe from house plants, we don't know. I use unscented Aquanet hairspray.
Hairspray?
Yes, and this is really cruel. It glues their little wings together. They just drop. And I have tried the extra...
Oh, my gosh.
I've tried the extra super hold and the regular and the super hold. They all work about the same. And
it also works really good for box elder bugs.
Oh, so any kind of bugs, just spray them with that Aquanet. Just any kind of hairspray, probably, right? There they go.
Well, it's only about 68 cents a can for a small can, and I just keep one in the kitchen.
That's
it's right
great.
beside my phone.
Great.
And I'm allergic to bug spray. It also doesn't leave an oily residue.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Linda, for calling, and thanks for the rest of you for holding on. Sorry we didn't get to everybody. We're going to award the book to Roger, using Preparation H as a fishing lure. Maggie and I both agree that's the most unusual one we've heard. Well, Joey, thank you so much for spending time with us today.